Did you know your Mercedes has 13 features the dealership never demonstrated and that most owners never find across the entire life of the vehicle? Not buried in a service menu, not requiring a dealer visit, built into the car sitting in your driveway right now. Today, every feature gets revealed with exact activation steps and the dealer profit motive attached to each one. Stay until the end. Number 1 is the feature that has kept Mercedes engines alive past 300,000 miles, and the dealer has a direct financial reason to never mention it at handover. Let us get into it. Number 13, the individual drive mode. You bought a Mercedes with Dynamic Select. You have been rotating between comfort and sport since day one. You have never touched individual mode. Individual mode is sitting on the selector doing nothing while you drive a car that is performing at 60% of what it is capable of. Individual mode is not a preset. It is a blank canvas that lets you combine the characteristics of every other mode into a single configuration that matches your specific driving preferences precisely. Sport throttle response combined with comfort suspension damping. Sport steering weight with eco transmission shift strategy. Any combination across every available axis of adjustment that Dynamic Select controls. The configuration that most Mercedes enthusiasts converge on as the optimal daily driving setup is sport throttle mapping, with comfort suspension and comfort steering weight, immediate engine response to throttle inputs, relaxed ride quality, and effortless steering on urban roads. Access Dynamic. Select through the center console button or touchscreen. Select Individual. Configure each axis independently. Save the configuration. A C-Class owner from Austin named David had been driving his 2021 C300 in comfort mode for 19 months before a colleague showed him individual mode configuration during a lunch break. He describes the difference as discovering a completely different car inside the one he already owned. $0 to configure. 19 months of reduced capability because the dealer spent the handover walkthrough explaining the infotainment and never touched the drive mode system. The next feature operates from the moment you close the door, and most owners have never experienced it working correctly because a single setting has never been activated. Number 12, the ambient lighting system. You set the ambient lighting to blue on the day you collected the car. It has been blue ever since. You have been using one color out of 64 available across 7 intensity levels that most owners never find because the full menu is not where you expect it to be. The ambient lighting system on Mercedes models produced after 2015 responds to drive mode selection, time of day, and incoming navigation alerts simultaneously when correctly configured. In sport mode, the system shifts toward red and orange tones automatically on equipped models. In comfort mode, it moves toward cooler blues and whites. The intensity adjustment that most owners never find controls brightness across 7 levels rather than the 3 levels visible in the quick access menu. The full 7-level adjustment is accessed through the vehicle settings menu under interior lighting rather than through the quick access ambient lighting toggle. At level 7, the ambient lighting provides genuine interior illumination during nighttime driving. At level 1, it provides the subtle mood accent the engineers intended for relaxed highway cruising. A GLE owner from Charlotte named Michelle had paid $320 for an aftermarket ambient lighting enhancement at a detailing studio 8 months after purchase. The enhanced capability she paid for was already in her vehicle. The dealer that sold her the car never showed her the full lighting menu. The detailing studio was delighted she never found it herself. If you are discovering features right now that your dealership never demonstrated during your handover walkthrough, make sure you subscribe immediately and hit the notification bell. The next feature changes how the car protects you in the fraction of a second before a collision that most drivers assume is too fast for any system to address. Number 11, the pre-safe system that prepares the car before the crash happens. You are driving at 60 miles per hour. A car cuts across your lane from the right. You brake hard. In the fraction of a second between your foot hitting the brake and the impact, your Mercedes has already tightened your seatbelt, closed the sunroof, closed the side windows to within 4 millimeters, and moved the front passenger seat to the optimal crash position. Pre-safe does all of this before the collision, not during, before. The system uses radar, camera, and acceleration sensor data to detect an unavoidable collision and initiates the protection sequence in the time between detection and impact. The positioning that pre-safe achieves in that fraction of a second measurably improves the protection the airbag system delivers. An airbag deploying against a correctly positioned occupant delivers its protection as designed. An airbag deploying against an incorrectly positioned occupant can cause injury rather than prevent it. Pre-safe requires no activation. Verify it is enabled in your safety systems menu. On some vehicles, it can be inadvertently disabled during a settings reset or after a battery disconnection. A C-Class owner from Miami named Robert had his pre-safe system disabled during a dealer battery service at 41,000 miles. He drove for 7 months with a disabled pre-safe system while believing it was active. His dealer charged him $130 for the battery service that disabled it. They charged him nothing for disclosing the disablement because they never disclosed it. The next feature saves Mercedes owners between $150 and $300 every single year on a procedure most owners return to the dealership to have performed. Number 10. The maintenance counter. Reset. You bring the car in after the service reminder appears. The oil is changed. The filter is replaced. The service advisor hands you a receipt for $190. Buried in the itemized list is a $75 charge for resetting the service indicator. The reset takes 45 seconds. It requires no tools, no diagnostic equipment, and no specialist knowledge. Navigate to the service menu in the instrument cluster using the steering wheel controls. Select the completed service item. Hold the confirm button for 5 seconds until the counter resets. On models with the MBUX infotainment system, the reset is performed through the vehicle settings menu under service. The specific procedure for your exact model and year is in the owner's manual service section. A GLC owner from Denver named Patricia had been returning to her dealer for service indicator resets 3 times per year at $75 each, $225 annually for a 45-second procedure. Over 3 years of ownership, she had paid $675 for resets. The owner's manual that documents the self-reset procedure has been in her glove box since purchase. The dealer that collected $675 had access to the same documentation. Have you ever paid a dealer for a procedure you later discovered you could perform yourself in under a minute? Drop the amount in the comments. The next feature is one that most Mercedes owners encounter at the worst possible time and handle in a way that makes the situation significantly more expensive than it needs to be. Number 9. The camera system views. You are reversing into a tight parking space. You have the rear camera active. You clipped the front bumper on the entry pillar because you were watching the rear and had no visibility of what the front was doing. The repair estimate is $480 for a scuff on the front bumper cap. Your Mercedes parking camera system has 6 distinct view modes accessible through the camera display rather than the 3 that appear in the standard camera interface. The transparent bonnet view uses the front camera combined with software processing to display a virtual view of what is directly beneath the front bumper, as if the bonnet were transparent. This view is specifically useful for tight spaces, where the front bumper clearance to a low obstacle cannot be judged from the driver's seat. The trailer coupling view activates a specific rear camera zoom and alignment overlay that makes reversing onto a coupling a one-person operation. The individual wheel view shows a zoom display of each wheel's position relative to the curb. These views are accessed by holding the view selection button within the camera display for 2 seconds, rather than pressing it briefly. If the features in this video are making you question what else your dealer never showed you, smash that like button right now. Every like puts this video in front of another Mercedes owner before they pay for something their car already does for free. A GLE owner from Seattle named Thomas clipped his front bumper in an underground parking structure at 53,000 miles. The repair was $480. The transparent bonnet view that would have shown him exactly where the bumper was relative to the obstacle had been in his camera system since purchase. His dealer had demonstrated the standard rear camera at handover. They had not mentioned the extended view modes existed. The next feature is one that most Mercedes owners use in exactly the wrong mode for their specific driving environment, and that produces a measurably inferior result because of it. Number 8. The Distronic following distance setting. You set Distronic to level 3 when you first used it. It has been level 3 for 2 years. Level 3 is the factory default. It is also the setting that most dealers demonstrate during the handover drive. The following distance has 7 levels on most current Mercedes models. The factory default level 3 produces a following distance that is appropriate for moderate highway conditions with predictable traffic. In heavy urban traffic, with frequent lane changes from adjacent vehicles, level 4 or 5 provides a buffer that allows Distronic to manage cut-in events without the abrupt deceleration that level 2 or 3 produces. In rural highway driving with sparse traffic, level 2 reduces the gap that other vehicles use to merge in front. Understanding the interaction between following distance and system response allows Distronic to work with your specific driving environment. A C-Class owner from Chicago named Angela had been experiencing frequent Distronic disengagement warnings in her daily motorway commute for 18 months. She mentioned it to her dealer at a service appointment. The dealer suggested a software diagnostic at $150. The actual cause was a following distance setting that was producing abrupt deceleration events severe enough to trigger system warnings. Adjusting from level 3 to level 5 eliminated every warning. The diagnostic fee was refunded after Angela pointed out the setting change had resolved the issue. The next feature is one that most Mercedes owners have experienced activating during emergency situations and have dismissed as a system fault before understanding its purpose. Number 7. The Crosswind Assist that stabilizes the car. Without any driver input, you are crossing a bridge at 70 miles per hour. A gust of wind from the right pushes the car toward the left lane. You feel it. You correct with the steering wheel. What you may not have noticed is that the correction happened faster and with less steering input than it should have required. Mercedes Crosswind Assist had already applied a brief, targeted braking force to the wheels on the windward side of the vehicle before your hands moved. The system uses the ESP sensors, the yaw rate sensor, and the lateral acceleration sensor simultaneously to detect the onset of a lateral wind displacement event. When the system identifies a crosswind pattern, it applies corrective braking that creates a yaw moment counteracting the lateral push. The intervention is complete within a fraction of a second and leaves no perceptible trace. Verify Crosswind Assist is enabled in the driver assistance settings. A GLC owner from Kansas City named Steven had his Crosswind Assist disabled during a dealer diagnostic procedure at 67,000 miles. He drove for 5 months across open prairie highways, where crosswind events occur regularly before a dealer service appointment identified the disabled system. His dealer charged him $90 to re-enable a system their own diagnostic procedure had disabled without disclosure. The next feature changes how your Mercedes handles the most commonly misread dashboard signal, and that is sending thousands of owners to dealer appointments that should never happen. Number 6. The TPMS position. Calibration. You have your tires rotated. You drive away. The TPMS warning light appears. You check the wheel the system indicates. The pressure is correct. You assume the warning is a false alarm. You drive on a different wheel that actually has a pressure issue for 11 days before it becomes visually apparent. The tire pressure monitoring system requires calibration after every tire rotation to associate each sensor with its new wheel position. Without calibration, the system continues associating each sensor with the position it occupied before the rotation. The calibration procedure on most Mercedes models requires inflating all 4 tires to the correct pressure and initiating the calibration sequence through the vehicle settings menu under tire pressure. The procedure takes 45 seconds. An E-Class owner from Philadelphia named Laura paid $110 for a dealer TPMS diagnostic after tire rotation produced a persistent warning light. The technician performed the calibration procedure and returned the vehicle. The procedure that cost $110 at the dealership takes 45 seconds in the owner's driveway with no tools required. The owner's manual documents the procedure on the same page as the TPMS warning light description. The next feature is one that most Mercedes owners pay a premium for as an optional add-on when it is already present and inactive in their vehicle. Number 5. The seat memory exit. Assist you park the car. You press the memory button while the door is opening. The seat moves rearward to its maximum position. The steering column tilts and telescopes to create maximum clearance for exit. You get out with ease. You return to the car. You press the same memory button. The seat and steering column return to your exact stored driving position automatically. Most Mercedes owners who use the memory system store their driving position and recall it correctly. They do not know the exit assist sequence exists. They exit to the maximum position and then manually readjust to their driving position on every return. Over 3 years of twice daily entries and exits, that manual readjustment happens approximately 2,000 times. A C-Class owner from Boston named Jennifer had been manually readjusting her seat and steering column on every entry for 2 years before a forum post explained the exit assist sequence. She estimates she spent between 90 seconds and 2 minutes on each readjustment. Across 2 years, that represents between 60 and 80 hours of accumulated manual adjustment time. $0 to activate. 2,000 unnecessary readjustments eliminated by a 30-second explanation the dealer never provided. The next feature is one that most owners pay a specialist to configure when the capability is already present in the standard vehicle software. Number 4, the Valet Mode that protects your car and your data. Simultaneously, you hand your keys to a parking attendant. Your home address is saved in the navigation system. Your calendar appointments are visible in the MBX display. Your recent calls are accessible through the audio system. You have just handed a stranger access to your home location, your schedule, and your contact list along with your car keys. Mercedes Valet Mode restricts the vehicle's performance and locks personal data access when activated before handing the vehicle to a third party. Maximum speed is restricted to a configurable limit. The MBX system restricts access to stored addresses, calendar data, and call history. The glove box locks independently if equipped with an electric lock. Activation requires a PIN that only the primary driver knows. The activation procedure is in the vehicle settings menu under security. An S-Class owner from New York named Richard discovered Valet Mode at 44,000 miles after reading about it in a Mercedes owner forum. He had been handing his vehicle to parking attendants at client dinners for 3 years without activating it. A navigation privacy specialist he subsequently consulted and estimated that his stored home address, regular destinations, and calendar data had been accessible to approximately 230 parking attendants across that period. $0 to activate. 3 years of unnecessary data exposure because the dealer omitted this feature from the handover demonstration entirely. Have you ever handed your car to a valet without activating any data protection? Drop your honestly in the comments. The next feature is one that most Mercedes owners experience as a dashboard warning that costs them a dealer diagnostic fee for a resolution that takes 30 seconds. Number 3. The steering angle sensor. Recalibration. You have a wheel alignment performed. You drive away. The ESP warning light appears on the dashboard. The lane keeping assist begins making corrections when the car is traveling straight on a flat road. You call the dealer, they recommend a diagnostic appointment at $160. The cause is an uncalibrated steering angle sensor after the alignment changed the vehicle's straight-ahead reference position. The recalibration procedure requires driving in a straight line at speeds above 30 km per hour for a minimum of 30 seconds with the steering wheel held straight. The system uses this driving period to recalibrate its zero position against the actual straight-ahead direction of travel. After every wheel alignment on your Mercedes, perform this straight-line calibration drive before returning to normal traffic. A GLC owner from Phoenix named Carol paid $160 for a dealer diagnostic after a wheel alignment produced continuous ESP and lane-keeping warnings. The technician performed a brief highway drive and returned the vehicle with all warnings resolved. The calibration drive that resolved the issue is documented in the Mercedes Owner's Manual under Steering System Maintenance. The dealer that charged $160 to perform it never mentioned the self-calibration procedure. The next feature involves the long-term health of the most expensive component in your Mercedes, and the dealer's service schedule is specifically designed to generate the repair it could prevent. Number 2. The Assyst Plus monitor. You are at the dealer for your scheduled oil change. The service advisor recommends the premium synthetic package at $185. He tells you the interval is 10,000 miles. He does not tell you that your specific driving profile, mostly short urban trips in a cold climate, means your oil is depleted at 7,000 miles regardless of the synthetic specification. He does not tell you because shorter intervals mean more revenue and longer intervals mean the damage that generates repair bookings. Mercedes Assyst Plus monitors your actual driving conditions to calculate the correct service interval for your specific usage pattern. Engine load history, oil temperature cycling frequency, cold start frequency, total operating hours. The system produces an oil change recommendation based on what your specific oil has actually experienced rather than what a marketing interval suggests. The display is in the Instrument Cluster information menu. Following it rather than a fixed mileage schedule means changing oil when it needs changing, not when the dealer's booking calendar is convenient. An E-Class owner from Minneapolis named Gary followed his dealer's 10,000-mile synthetic interval for 4 years on a vehicle used primarily for short cold-weather urban trips. At 93,000 miles, his independent mechanic identified VVT passage sludge accumulation consistent with oil that had been running past its effective service life repeatedly. The VVT cleaning service cost him $740. Assyst Plus had been recommending 6,000-mile intervals throughout that period. Gary had been ignoring it in favor of the dealer's sticker. The dealer that printed the sticker performed the $740 repair. They are the same entity. The conflict of interest produced $740 of damage across 4 years of ignored system recommendations. The final feature is the one the dealer has the strongest financial reason to never demonstrate, and that changes every major maintenance outcome across the life of the vehicle. Number 1. The cold start protocol. That determines whether your Mercedes reaches 300,000 miles. You start the car on a cold morning. You're moving within 30 seconds. You're on the highway within 2 minutes. The engine is operating at combustion pressures that require fully established oil film at every bearing surface. The oil has not reached those surfaces yet. This is happening at every cold start, and it is the single largest determinant of whether your Mercedes engine reaches 300,000 miles in excellent condition or begins showing expensive symptoms at 100,000. Mercedes AMG engines and the high-output variants of the standard engine range operate at compression ratios and combustion pressures that create specific cold start requirements documented in the AMG owner's supplement. The protocol requires a minimum of 90 seconds at idle from a cold start before any significant load is applied to the drivetrain. During these 90 seconds, the engine oil is circulating to all bearing surfaces from a cold state. AMG engines use tighter bearing clearances than standard engines to achieve the precision required at high RPM and high load. Tighter bearing clearances require fully warmed, correctly viscous oil to maintain the hydrodynamic film that separates bearing surfaces during operation. Applying load before full oil circulation is established creates metal-to-metal contact at clearances that the engine was not designed to tolerate. After the 90-second idle period, gentle driving below 3,000 RPM for the first 5 minutes of operation allows the oil to reach operating viscosity before the engine is asked to work at its designed load range. Full performance driving is appropriate only after the coolant temperature gauge reaches its normal operating position. A C63 AMG owner from Los Angeles named Thomas followed this protocol across 240,000 miles of ownership. His engine required no internal repair across that distance. His mechanic at 240,000 miles describes the engine condition as extraordinary for the mileage. Total unplanned engine repair cost across 240,000 miles, $0. A C63 AMG owner from Houston named Brian drove aggressively from cold starts consistently across the same period. At 112,000 miles, his dealer identified bearing wear requiring a bottom-end inspection. The repair estimate was $14,000. The dealer that sold Brian his vehicle spent the handover demonstration on the infotainment system, the key fob, and the parking camera. They did not spend 90 seconds explaining the cold start protocol that would have prevented a $14,000 repair. They did not need to. The $14,000 repair is what the omission finances: 90 seconds of idle every cold morning, 300,000 miles of engine protection. The dealer profits from the gap between what they tell you and what the engine actually needs. That gap is now closed. Have you ever followed a dealer's recommendation that you later discovered was designed to generate a repair rather than prevent one? Tell us the story and the amount in the comments. Hey, thanks for watching. If this video revealed features in your Mercedes that the dealership should have demonstrated at handover, let us know in the comments which feature surprised you most and which one you are activating today. Want to see the 13 hidden Mercedes features that save you more stress and money under the hood? Click on the video on the left. We'll see you there.